looks to be in more than this one, but it could just be the way I'm sitting here. When I kind of go just like this, they look pretty even. Yeah, they're pretty good there. So wasn't as bad as I thought it would, especially once I thought about taking this top hatch off. So all I did was put it in the bottom channel and then put 2 screws in there to hold it in place. And I am going to, even though the bottom extension hits this piece here and will not come forward, I'm still going to basically drill a hole all the way through that I can put a screw in there just to kind of, you know, give it some security, because it will push back like when it's the same width of the actual clamp. You know, it has a little bit of play forward and aft, maybe a 1/4 of an inch. So what I did is I pushed them all the way forward until they hit this bulkhead, and that's where I did my forward adjustment. They look to be, I mean, it's not much of that you're going to get unless you made a smaller extension or width-wise. So that's something that I need to check on now that I thought about it. I probably should have done that first. I don't know how far these motors need to go back. I mean, you can't go back too far. No, I take that back, because I made my extensions the same width as the metal clamp. So I can't go back any further other than that 1/4 inch, not even a 1/4 inch, you know, maybe an 1/8 of an inch is all that would slide back before that bottom metal clamp hits the aft bulkhead. So that's about as good as it's going to go. So that's where they need to go. How that works for flow through heat and that aft area getting hot, I don't know. So I'll just have to see on that. I do have some old half bypasses that are carbon that I thought about chopping the rear end off of them and just kind of sliding up over, you know, the exhaust nozzle, you know, maybe up to here somewhere, just to kind of protect those a little bit in that area. We'll just have to see how hot that area gets once it's running. So but you know, I'll probably put some ceramic blanket in there. But the good thing is it's easy to get into that area to put the ceramic blanket, because I don't want to do the paint because it's heavy. It's going to be tail heavy as it is. So I'm just going to do the ceramic blanket, which I think's better anyways, because it insulates, you know, it's got some insulation on it between the surface that it's covering and the actual blanket, versus the paint, which is just adhered straight to the surface. So anyways, that's how they go in. Crosstalk on turbines could be an issue being this close. After talking, you know, discussing it with Gasper, you know, the angle at which you place the turbines will also prevent a lot of that, or, you know, eliminate that chance. And if I remember correctly, this is the kind of setup you want. The RPM that reads the magnet in the starter or in the compressor wheel basically facing away from each other, so you don't read the other magnets. So hopefully that'll prevent that. That'll be something I'll check, obviously, before I fly, probably during the run-up and testing. But so that's it for the tail. Everything's in the tail as of now. I got the cockpit on. I think I already discussed this in the video, but if not, I'll kind of show you again. Getting that mechanism attached to that aft bulkhead was a pain. I spent half the day doing that just to get 4 screws in. I ended up having to put a washer on that right side to kind of tilt it, because the bulkhead was off a little bit. So so that way when the canopy closed at the top, you know, a little bit of angle down there, like 1 or 2 degrees down at that end is like, you know, an inch off up here. So you have to get that angle right, or when the canopy closes, it won't sit in that kind of groove. Next thing I'm going to work on is the locking. I removed the air cylinder they had glued on here, and I made my own locking. Where'd you go? Okay. So I did use, so this is what I'm going to use for my lock. And that's the extension, that's the piece they had, or the shaft that was on their air cylinder. It's pretty thick. And what I'm going to do is this is going to be mounted kind of under the nose, and it's actually going to come out the hole that was already drilled. So this would have inserted basically into that to lock it. So I'm just going to flip it around. Mine's going to be under here, and it's going to move in and out like that. And I'll be putting a brass tube. Fits perfect. So I'll just basically install this in the nose, have it running all the way out. That way I can do the canopy as well. It's kind of hard to see there, sorry. I need a third hand. But that's the premise. This will be glued into the canopy, the brass tubing, and the actual nose frame, just to give this something to hold against versus you know, high sol and just the material of the skin. So I think it'll work out good. But this is the same linear actuator that I used on the canopy open close. It's a 30 millimeter. I went with the 50 ratio, which is fast, but only has like 5 pounds of torque. But this is just, like I said, going in and out. And then once it's locked, you know, there's nothing, no force on the actual servo. It's just all on this. So the canopy one I did was a 210 ratio. Actually, I went to the 100. The 210 is like 18 pounds of force. You're just lifting the canopy and closing the canopy. So I went to the 100, which is faster than the 210. Slower than this one, but faster, and it was kind of the perfect kind of medium. So I may not even have to put this on kind of like a 3-position switch, because this one will go so... Now I'll take it back. I won't be able to do that. So I'll have to put this on like a 3-position switch. Second position will... I don't know, that won't work either. May have to do 2 switches. 2 switches. One to lock, unlock, and then one to open and close. So that's the only thing. If you have a sequencer, it'll work perfect with a sequencer. So anyways, that is the story so far. So I'm going to start working on this. I'm just basically going to mount this like this. I'm going to build a little wooden tray, something, you know, kind of goes on this, and then it'll kind of get the angle I need. Once I have that, then I'll glue the whole thing. You know, this will be removable, obviously, but once I get the proper angle, then I'll glue the whole thing in. So, but it's going. Some things are easier than I thought they would be, and then vice versa. But for the most part, it's still been a really good build. It's just a lot going on and getting things into areas that makes it a little difficult. The nose wheel went in. I didn't do a video on this, but they drilled the forward screw holes. So I put it in, and then I had to make some clearance holes here to drill the 2 aft holes and put the 2 screws in. Had to do a little clearance right here for the drive when it's down, and then up here the wheel was hitting, so I essentially just cut that out. When the doors are closed, you don't see any of this cutout area. It looks great, but I would close it, but it's already locked because I had it on its wheels. But nothing crazy there. The clamp that they made and the lights being offset is realistic. It looks like the original. The scissors they had there had it rotated. Could have just been an oversight, but the scissors do go aft. The rear landing gear, this area is much shorter. You know, basically the lights are right here, and then the lights are kind of behind the doors. So this one's a little bit longer than the rail version, but looks good when it's all on all fours. Straightforward there, nothing crazy. I did use a lock nut there to kind of hold this guy in place from sliding up and down. I used my own clevis with their rod and ball end. So that's it. So I'm going to get back to working on the canopy lock now, and you guys have a good one.